Hello busy people, welcome to the blood bank application series. In this video we are talking about the backend development for our application. So let's get started. So before writing any code, let's see what the backend is. So understanding the backend, we have in this application we are going to use a 3-tier architecture. Let's see what it is. In 3-tier architecture we have 3 nodes basically. First is client, second is server, and third is database. Let's see what it means. So the client is we can say is our phone, which is running our application. Our application can also be called as a client. We call our browsers as a client. So our application needs some data, so it generates a request. Now this request is generated towards a server. Server is just like a computer. It's also a machine. It has some processing power and it runs some programs written in PHP, Java or Node.js, and it generates a response for our application. Now this server might need to access some data which is stored somewhere else. The server, we don't usually store all of our data as files, so we need a database system. Now the database is a separate entity, so in this architecture we are keeping it as a separate node. Now the server will generate a query to the database that fetch me some data related to this ID or this key, something like that, and the database will generate a result. Suppose we want to look for somebody's phone number in our telephones directory, so in the query we will give the address of that person and the database will generate the phone number as a result. Now the server will take that phone number and send it to the client and as a response. So that's how the 3-tier architecture will work. This is the data flow, and now let's see what are our options. Okay, so these are our options. For databases we have variety of DBMS systems: MySQL, PostgreSQL, MongoDB, MariaDB, etc. While MongoDB is a NoSQL database, MySQL and PostgreSQL are relational database. They use structured query language, while MongoDB is a NoSQL database. It uses documents. So we are gonna use relational database in this application for simplicity. The languages that we are gonna use are that people use are Node.js, PHP, Java, etc. to interact with these databases, and some other well-known platforms you might have heard of are Firebase. So Firebase is a mobile backend developed by Google, and it's very easy to use and quite good actually, but we are not using it in this application. I'll tell you why. So what we will use and why? We will use MySQL and PHP. So why are we doing that? Because we want to learn the basics of backend development and learn something which we can use in our applications every day. So for that you will have to buy some servers, some cheap backend services. In that case, buying a shared web hosting will be very cheap compared to Firebase or servers that run Node.js like AWS and others. So usually what happens is, in shared hosting you get a MySQL database and a PHP. You can only run PHP, you can't run Node.js. So in that case it becomes mandatory to use MySQL and PHP, and it's also cheap and very easy to learn. So we are gonna use this. Let's get started. So we are gonna use a free hosting service by this 000webhost.com. They provide $0 per month hosting, and they are giving us PHP, MySQL, cPanel and no ads. So it's very cheap and it's good for testing your applications. I won't recommend it for production, but we can test our application here. So click on sign up. So sign up with anything you like. I'm gonna sign up with Google. So once you're done registering, you can come here on My Sites, click on Create New Site, and let's name it. I'm gonna name it Busy Programmer, and let me just save the name and password now. Click on create and wait for some time. So once your site is built, you will see something like this. Create a new website using this tool or WordPress or Wix. But we don't want to build a website, we just want to build a web service. So we will choose these tools, and then we will click on Database Manager. In Database Manager, we don't have any databases. This shows that we can create 2 databases. We will be just needing one, so click on New Database, name it something. For database username, I'm gonna add Busy Programmer, and this password I will do something. So click on create. You have your database created now. So it's taking some time to create the database. So once the database is created, click on this manage and click on this phpMyAdmin. This will open the admin interface for our database. Let's see how it looks. So if you have used a phpMyAdmin before, this will be a very similar or very familiar interface for you. This is our database that we created, Blood Bank. They have added some prefix to it. Click on the plus icon, and we have nothing, no tables right now. So we can create the table by clicking here. So we are not gonna create any tables right now. We will do it in our next video when we will be completing a registration part in our application. In File Manager, we want to work in this public HTML folder, which is currently empty except this file. Leave it as it is and click on this new file button. Now let's name our file init.php. .php matters, so keep that in mind. Click on create and our file is created. Now from these options, after selecting the file, click on edit. Now we are gonna write our script. Let's start writing the PHP file. First up, we need the host variable. In host, I'm giving localhost. Here we have to give the database name. In the database name, copy paste your database name from here and paste it here. Remove any extra spaces. And now we can connect to our database. For that we have a function mysqli connect. The first parameter it takes is host, second is username, third is password, and last it takes the name of the database. Let's check if the connection was successful. For that we just need to write if connection. If it will be successful, this code will get executed. Let's echo something. And else failed to connect. And to get what exactly was the reason, we are gonna use another MySQL function, mysqli connect error. So as you can see, it's very easy to understand what's happening here. We have a function mysqli connect which takes some variable, host, user, password, and a database name. The host is localhost because we are on the same server as the database, so we don't need to write the URL or the IP address of the database. And the user is busy programmer. The password is given here, and the database name is this, the blood bank we wrote, and this is the prefix that this hosting service added by itself. Now if we check if the connection was successful, we will get connected to database, else this message will get displayed. Let's save it. So sometimes it can happen is with this hosting service, while you're typing, the session might expire and you might be logged out of the file manager, and if you just press save and close, all your work will be gone. So what I want you guys to do is, before saving, click Ctrl A and copy the whole script once and then save and close. So we have the script ready. Now let's test it out. If you come back to my websites, you will see your website here. The status will be running, and this is our website, busyprogrammer.000web something. You will click on this. And this will open here. And now to access our file, we will just write the file name after the domain. You can see the file name is init.php that we created, and we just added a a slash and then init.php. Press enter. And we are getting this error. Let's see why that's happening. Okay, so we entered the username wrong. It's not just busy programmer, but they have also added prefix to this username. Let's change that quickly in our file manager. Let's edit this. Okay, it's logged out. We need to log in again. Go back to file manager. Okay, good. Now let's edit this init.php file. We need to change the username. Save and close. Now let's reload our page so we get connected to the database. So it works. So today we learned how to write a PHP script to connect to a database. In the next video, we will be hooking our registration page to a script which will enable us to save some data in our database. We will create a table for registration. Hey guys, thank you for watching the video. Please consider subscribing to the channel and like this video if you really liked it.